Dave here with Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with my friend Ted, the other nerdarchist.
So, what's up today?
Well, so this past weekend was really busy for Nerdarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Nate the Nerdarch went and did a book signing. My first book signing ever, which was really cool for a local author for a sci-fi book called Armageddon Lecture.
Okay, so how did that go?
It was good. It was good. We had a great time. They had a decent turnout. They sold a bunch of books,
Awesome.
signed a bunch of books,
Okay.
and I actually I've got the classic blooper reel book because it's two brothers that wrote the book,
Mm-hmm.
and so apparently they had one put it up for editing, and the other one thought it was done, and they had published on Amazon because they self-published through Amazon.
Right.
Right, so the book I have is about 50 pages longer than the book that's actually in print now, and it has just a straight black cover, which it looks nice compared to the ones now that actually have cover art on them.
Okay.
So hey, when these guys make it, that book could be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I just gotta get them to sign that one too, because I also got one with the cover art and all
Right.
on and all. So, the book signing, book reading, that was really cool. But the problem with it prevented me from hanging out with you guys when you guys got to preview a game. Well, not preview, but play a one-shot of a game none of us have played before.
And you sadly, you missed a really good time. We checked out a game called Paranoia RPG, and it's really different from anything that we've done previously. It's as opposed to it being a superhero game or a standard, let's play a fantasy adventure, style D&D-esque thing. I was first informed, it's a post-apocalyptic thing, and well, it's not really what I would describe as post-apocalyptic, because you've got people that are working together, and you've got communities, and you've got, no one's running in fear for their life or trying to find a way to survive.
No mutants or Badlands or, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome style stuff.
There was mutants, and but it's like, you have the ability to, you have a possibility of having a mutant power. You could, maybe have some telekinesis or some corrosion or, a couple of, there's a few options that I saw, but it's not like they're all over the place. They're rampant. It's an accidental thing that happens during the cloning process.
Okay.
It was really interesting.
Wait a minute, cloning process.
Yeah, it's really interesting with the setting is they no longer allow people to reproduce by standard means. People are created clones, and you get
Wasn't there a Woody Allen movie like that where it's set in the future, and they would just go into these pods, but they would never actually touch, and that's how they would have sex?
If there was,
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I think.
I never saw it, but in this one, you're genetically created clones, and you, at least for us, you start off with 6. Now I don't know what the standards are. When we showed up, the GM was like, "All right, here's your list of rules," and first one was the GM's always right. Number one, number 2 was you don't need to know the rules. That's part of the game. So it's like if you don't know the lingo and you don't know something or whatever else, you just have to fake it and get by. And it was just. It was vastly different than everything else that we had done. So initially, he starts going through this whole list of stuff and talks about, we're in the future, and there's all these parameters, and you need to have a clearance level in order to do, X, Y, or Z, and it's based on the rainbow spectrum. At the bottom. For regular players, you start off at red, but you've got the people who are below that, which are basically your sanitation people, your people who clean up this and that and whatnot, are infrared. So they can only do, what what the bare bones can do. And of course, the higher your clearance level, the more areas you get to and whatever else. But it's much more structured than that. So like as a clearance level red, you wear red clothes, you eat red food, you drink red drinks, and if you do things that are not like
right.
you eat or drink something or wear something that's not your color or below your color, that's a treasonous act. Now,
Well, that sounds kind of serious. What happens if you commit a treasonous act?
it depends upon whether you get caught or not. The the overarching ruler or society is friend computer. Now, friend computer, as the name sounds, he wants to be everybody's friends, and he wants everybody to be nice and get along. But it's almost impossible to exist in this society without committing treason. So, as a player in this setting, you have to either be really secretive or subversive with what you're doing, and to gloss over what you're doing, you have to point the fingers at other players. So when it was first sold to me, as the campaign's getting started, it's a PvP, and I'm not a big PvP guy. I'm big on cooperative. And as you know, when we're playing the games, I'm the good guy. I don't like playing the bad guy. It's just not as much fun for me. So I'm like, I don't want to do PvP. But as we get into playing, it's more like a cooperative betrayal, because the group has got a mission that you have to get done. Otherwise, you're all in trouble.
Right, you've all committed treason.
But at the same time, you've all got some kind of secretive goal that you've got to do. You're probably going to commit, one or more acts of treason just by existing. I think out of the 4 players, at least 3 of us were mutants, which that's just treasonous right there. You're not supposed to use mutant powers and whatnot, which I never did. I was a registered mutant from early on, but it got played off because I was a new clone. So I was like, okay, well, I just won't use it. But I had to wear this big old sign on my shirt, that said I was a registered mutant, warning. and the DM totally, had little, signs, and we had to tape stuff to our chest.
Well, that part sounds like a lot of fun.
So it was very, very comical and very amusing. The cross between serious and comical throughout the whole thing. The GM did a really wonderful job, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's kind of like the fluff and the backstory and on how the game works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into how the game works, the mechanics. So now I was supposed to be there, so I know that the GM Travis was going to be just showing up with a bunch of pre-gens so people could just get a character and start playing. From looking at the character, did you understand like the character creation process?
I have no idea how to actually go about creating a character. According to the guy, he hit a button and it just printed out characters. So I was like, okay, you're this guy with these these skills, these stats.
So he used a random character generator.
I would imagine so. Yeah. It's like my character technically was an undercover agent for internal security, so I was technically green clearance. So I was, well above the other players. But because my infamiliarity for the game and whatnot, my mission operative said, okay, who's internal security? And because I was undercover, I'm like, not me, I'm just, such processing. He gave my mission to the guy who I was supposed to kill.
Nice.
So he got the mission that says, kill this guy. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So it was really amusing on that part. But the way, if you're actually looking at mechanics of the game, is all you need is that D20.
It's a D20 system.
Yeah, so it's 3rd edition monk style. You get the 20th level and boom, all you need is that magic D20. But as opposed to higher is better, as we're used to with all the other games that we play, your skill gets higher the better you're at, the better you are at it. But you subtract your die roll from your skill.
So it's an under.
Yeah, it's an over-under situation. So it's like, all right, if I have stealth 20, and the GM says, okay, make a stealth roll. I drop the die and I drop 11. It's like I got a 9 under. Or if I have a 1 and I roll a 20, beyond that being a critical failure, it's a 19 over. It's like, you've completely botched that attempt. But skills you can have, as a 1. So it's like you really have, a 5% chance of doing it, but then it enters into that, second edition, crit ability of, okay, well, you either do it fabulously well or not at all.
Very interesting. What's the stat block look like?
You don't even have like a strength, dex. There's none of that stats. You have like 6 skill categories, and they're very simplistic. And if you have you have your agility, and under agility is stealth. So if you don't have stealth, then you just make an agility roll.
Okay.
So it's possible that you're going to have a skill, but your skill is almost always going to be better than your actual your sub skill is going to be better than your overarching.
Okay.
One of them was management, and I had intimidation and interrogation. Well, my management was a 1. It was pathetic, but my intimidation and interrogation was a 5.
So what are the number ranges on your stats that you had on those skills?
I had I was pathetic at management, but I was really good at stealth. I had fairly decent.
No, just in general though. Like okay, so there's 6 categories, right? Management, agility.
I would think the next was like weapons. I don't remember what they all were because we didn't.
Well, what are the number ranges for your categories over the bigger categories?
It was like anywhere from like 1 to 20.
Okay.
So I mean, you have that that spectrum. Like I know, Jeremy's character had a sub skill at over 20.
Right.
So he was he was really good at that one.
So someday we'll actually look at the rules and figure out how to actually play this game.
But the GM says we weren't allowed to know the rules, so it was like,
or how to make a character anyway. So I take it this is a very rules light RPG.
I would imagine so. The GM said,
on your end anyway.
the GM said that things can get a little bit more in depth if you decide to actually go campaign. Things can be expanded out a little bit. Like when it comes to taking damage, you were as bruised, bloodied, and dead. That's the categories we had. So if somebody shot at you, and they hit, you were just dead. So it's like depending upon how bad they missed by would determine how injured you might have gotten.
Okay.
So we had we all started with like 6 clones. And there was a couple hours.
Clones are like hit points. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Basically, and it really was it was interesting. It's like okay, well if somebody died, essentially 2 minutes, game time or like in game time later, the next body is showing up to say okay, reporting for duty. I'm replacing that body. And it looked the same. It had all the same stats. So you weren't rolling up a new character, you were just crossing off, okay, well that clone's dead, I'm moving on to the next one.
Okay.
And if you got through all 6 of your clones, you're out of the game. Okay. We had a character that got close. Yeah.
So, well, pardon me for yawning, day walkers, because I work nights and this is very early for me. It sounds like the fatality rate is very high in this game.
It can be. We started off with the game, and when we got to mission briefing, our commanding officer said, "Fill out these forms. You have 1 minute to do so. Failure to do so is an act of treason." Now, this is my first real venture into the game, and 4 forms are handed out. 1 form is handed out to each of us.
A lot of props, huh?
Huh? Yes, the GM did bring a lot of props, and we manually had to actually sit there and fill out a form.
that's kind of
Well,
cool.
you know, looking around the table, you know, my form looked different than the other guys at the table. Now, I don't remember the exact title of the sheet that I filled out, but it was like basically a self-termination form, basically saying, yes, I want to kill myself. And it was asking me why I was doing so. So I handed it in and it was like, clone, are you sure? I'm like, well, sir, you said I had to fill out the form that I was provided. To not do so would be an act of treason. And Friend Computer does not like acts of treasons, therefore I can't do it. I can't not fill it out.
So your first act in the game was actually to commit suicide.
Basically, well, as I reported over there, and my body was destroyed. And 2 minutes later, I walked over. My new body walked over and assumed where I left off.
So did you have to fill out a new form?
I didn't.
Nice.
Thankfully, and talking to another buddy of mine who had actually played the game. I don't know whether there's like minds out there, or whether there's something about that in the actual GM book, but he'd seen that happen before. So like I said,
maybe it's a module in the book.
It's highly possible, but I thought it was amusing to no end to go through that. And of course the GM was like, well, you could have role played through this, but that was the only time I died. So.
Nice.
I went, hours in game dealing with this situation and dealing with that situation. Everybody committing acts of treason, and my energy pistol stayed holstered until we got to mission debriefing.
So, would you say it's kind of more of a combat-like game?
Yes, you don't waste time with, roll to hit versus an armor class and hit point damage. It's at least for our session, you rolled a hit, and if you hit, the other person was just, vaporized. They were done. They were gone.
So, I guess the point I'm trying to make is you guys really didn't die that much, so there must not have been that much combat, because it sounds like if someone shoots at you, it's really, really bad.
Well, most of the times that, shooting was going on, it was resolved almost the moment it started.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, this guy here is...
let me get this straight then. You guys are just like Han the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shot.
I don't like that. Boom.
Yeah.
You shoot first, it's done.
Well, it sounds like you got to, because if they get to shoot back, you're screwed.
So, and that's kind of how things went. Somebody shot at me once, and I survived because he missed enough that it only grazed my arm, and
so you got bruised or bloodied.
I was bloodied from a machine not acting properly because somebody tried to use a mutant power on it, and then I was shot at. So I was bruised and then bloodied, and then before we could continue with the mission, I sneezed out of game, and the team leader and the hygiene officer were like, "Whoa! This guy needs to be medically examined." They started taking our out of game actions as in game. So it was like, all right, guys, we need to draw a line here. But so they sent me down to medical to be examined and cleaned up. But since I was injured when I got there, they patched me up and sent me on my way. But
Nice. So basically, the D&D equivalent for you getting a heal potion was sneezing.
yeah, basically all I had to do was convince somebody that we needed to go to medical. But I mean, it was just like I think they were aiming to have me killed because I sneezed, because it's not hygienic.
Yeah. So, and that was the other players that said...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, majority of what actually transpired was all between players.
Was that Rob or Ryan?
It was a combination of Ryan and Jeremy.
Oh!
Jeremy was the one that shot me. Because Jeremy was the hygiene officer. Ryan was the team leader. I was the loyalty officer. And Rob was...
Did you know he shot you?
Yeah.
How did you guys... So why were you still working with him after he shot you?
Because we were under a mission. We were told to, get this done.
Yeah, did he at least, play it off like an accident or something?
I don't know whether he Jeremy was the one that died 5 times.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether he was killed there for shooting at me, or whether he was just kind of like, all right, at ease. We need to move on. I think we might have still been at mission briefing, in front of commanding officers and whatnot. So it's like, well, we need to not be just shooting willy nilly. But at that point in time, I had the registered mutant tag on me, and Jeremy's secret mission was to kill a bunch of mutants. So
now he claims he succeeded in his secret mission.
Oh, he did. He had to kill 2 mutants, and it wasn't difficult to do.
Were they both party members?
One of them was, one of them wasn't. So
nice. Yeah, it sounds like it would have been a lot of fun. I'm a little disappointed I missed out on it. So I guess the plan now is we're gonna try and do more like one-shotters and get more experiences with different games.
For a long time I was very hesitant to explore, and
we like what we like.
Yeah, exactly. For the longest time it was like, okay, we were playing 2nd edition, and I will tell you straight up that of everyone at our table, I was the least willing to go to 3.5 or 3rd edition and then to 3.5. But I was like, I don't want to change. I like what we've got, and I'm not a change heavy guy. But we moved over, and you just had to find the best part of it and just kind of wash away the bad. And then when 4th edition came out, I was like, I don't want to buy a whole other set of books. And by this point in time, we started experimenting with superhero games, and we try a handful of different things there. And then we kind of start moving away from the actual D&D bracket and playing more Mutants and Masterminds and all of the different nuances that you can do with that. But I've experienced Star Wars and Mutants and Masterminds, Dungeons and Dragons through multiple editions, done World of Darkness, done Shadowrun, but a lot of the stuff, it's like small samplings or was so long ago with a crappy group, so it's like, well, how do you compare those systems versus what we do now? So I think it really would be a good idea for us to reach out and see what else is out there and give our honest feedback on it, because if half the games out there are as good as Paranoia, then it'd be good to get a different take on things, especially from someone who might actually have some good knowledge of the game or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm a lot like you, where it's been so long since I played other games, and even the ones where we had decent players and a decent DM. It's just been so long ago. It just seems like I've always been involved with groups that have ADD when it comes to gaming. And we really don't stick with anything for very long. And our tried and true's always been D&D, right? And then later we did the M&M thing, and now we're messing with Pathfinder as a regular campaign, which is to me just playing D&D with they reskinned it a little bit.
Go ahead and put your comments down below if you're Pathfinder crazy that doesn't like the term D&D.
I know it makes some of them angry, but that's okay. But because I've played Gangbusters, I've played Top Secret, I've played I forget the name of the future one, but I played Gamma World, several different editions. I've played Conan, I've played DC from Mayfair, which was a really cool system back in the day. I played the original Marvel TSR RPG, and I'm sure there's ones I'm not even thinking. There was I think Boot Hill, that might be West End. I could be wrong about that. But there's just a plethora of games that we played or made characters for, and it never went anywhere, or it was only one session. So and at the time I was a teenager, so I hardly even remember. We're going back 20 years. So now it's kind of fun to try and explore these other games, and then now with Nerdarchy we got this great outlet where we can share it with people. We can write articles on it, and we can put videos up on YouTube, and then get feedback, and if people maybe they have a suggestion for a game we should try.
So if you have something that you think we should check out, put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your feedback on stuff. You've just heard the general list of what what we've done. If you got something that's not, not that, let us know. We'll check it out.
That sounds good. That's it for today. Like, comment, subscribe.
And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.